As many of you may know, there are mascots clearly in Goosebumps. If you take a look at the merchandise, you got characters such as Prince Karoo, the Mud Monsters, Cuddles, Slappy, the Horrors. We all know about the merchandise mascots. But there's also books, pillars of the Goosebumps community, some of the most iconic and recognizable reads that people consider to be the mascots of the series. You have, of course, the most popular ones, The Haunted Mask, Night of the Living Dummy, One Day at Horrorland, Say Cheese and Die, and you got Welcome to Camp Nightmare even, Welcome to Dead House. You got all these different books who pretty much consider to be mascots, the most recognizable books in the series, ones people would vouch for as the first book they think about when they hear the name Goosebumps. But what if I were to tell you that there was a Goosebumps book that I personally consider should be the mascot of Goosebumps? I think that this book manages to embody Goosebumps in the most perfect way. It hits all the notes that the series is supposed to hit, and in fact, it'll actually set you up for a good expectation of the series while still delivering a great read and not essentially almost misguide you in terms of what you might expect when you're reading these books. But let me talk about that a little bit further.
That money go where I go, smoking on gelato.
You know,
This is Dr. Victor Blaine, a therapist with a 0-star rating.
there are a lot of fantastic Goosebumps books that I wouldn't necessarily think are the ones that should be mascots, for plenty of reasons. First of all, you take a look at The Haunted Mask. The Haunted Mask has some of the best character development ever in Goosebumps. Carly Beth is arguably the most recognizable and beloved character in the series, but Stein doesn't replicate that again in the franchise. So if somebody were to read The Haunted Mask as their very first book, well, then you come with the conundrum. They're going to expect that Stein does that type of character development for a lot of his characters. And frankly speaking, I'm going to have to take a rest for that, because you know that man is not caring about his characters as much as he does Carly Beth.
He's out of line, but he's right.
Especially after how popular that TV show was. So we're going to have to sleep on that one. Then you got people who say Night of the Living Dummy. Oh, it's kind of hard to talk to y'all upside down. Yeah. Then you got some people who say Night of the Living Dummy.
Wanna see you out that door, baby, bye, bye, bye.
Which, while the second half of that book is amazing, it ramps up in action and stakes and everything and what you want, the first half of that book is extremely rough. Lindy and Chris are some of the most annoying characters in Goosebumps. Those twins are constantly bickering and complaining, and there's a lot of fake outs, and there's even a whole retcon. You think that one of the living dummies in the book might be doing something to a character, and turns out that's not actually the case.
It's facts! It's facts! It's not facts. These facts are not facts.
Identity turns out to be something more human, and that's very disappointing. So the first half of Night of the Living Dummy leaves a lot to be desired, and that being a mascot book, or hyped up as being one of the best when it led to a lot of formulaic reads and again is very messy in the first half, I can't really put that as my own mascot, personally speaking. And for anybody out there who's saying go eat worms, you just gave me tapeworms, all right? There's no way that book is a mascot. Do any of y'all got an extra roll of toilet paper? Laxative, maybe. Anybody out there who happened to say that My Hairiest Adventure should be a mascot book, or even Lawn Gnomes?
Man, what the fuck is you talking about?
Was that?
Which one you want? The belt or the power cord? You decide. Now, Welcome to Dead House and Say Cheese and Die are pretty much anomalies for the fact that they are some of the darkest Goosebumps books, and Stein doesn't go that dark pretty much ever. If you want a rare case of him doing dark stuff, you should check out Say Cheese and Die in Dead House, but don't expect that for the rest of the series. And for Welcome to Camp Nightmare, it arguably, to a lot of fans, is very controversial because it has one of the worst twist endings in Goosebumps. A lot of people actually hate that twist ending and feel like it completely derails the progress and what the story sets up. So I don't even know if that would be a good representative, although considering how many bad twist endings there are in Goosebumps, maybe that's more accurate. But I don't feel like that would be overall a good pick either. So what necessarily is my pick for what should be the mascot book of Goosebumps? What is the Goosebumps book that I think best represents the series? My pick has some great gross out horror. It has body horror. It has genuinely scary, intense moments. Woo! It has a good atmosphere. It has a good setting.
Wow.
It has a great villain, very iconic villain for what it is. And on top of that, one of the best things is that the pacing is great and it's one of the most balanced Goosebumps books. Yes, there's scary moments. Yes, there's gross out. Yes, there's body horror. Yes, there's tension. Yes, there's a good setting, a good villain. But there's comedy. There's absurdity and comedy woven into this story that pretty much makes the perfect balance of a Goosebumps book. And there's not even a twist ending. It's actually a pretty clever ending to the book and pretty much wraps around a reference that was made in the beginning of it.
Give it to me, just give it! Damn!
So what is this ideal, perfect Goosebumps representative book that I want to promote and make to people's eyes? And that mascot book, in my opinion, which I think is the best representative for all of Goosebumps, is Series 2000 Creature Teacher. Now, yes, I know what you're thinking. You would say, yo, BD, yo, Horrorlander, Creature Teacher technically is a mascot book. Mascot book for Series 2000, arguably one of the most iconic ones in there. Now, yes, I'm very much aware that is true, but I'm talking about the official mascot book of Goosebumps. While it is a mascot for Series 2000, when you hear the name Goosebumps, people think about all the other books that I mentioned. One Day at Horrorland, Welcome to Dead House, Welcome to Camp Nightmare, Say Cheese and Die, The Haunted Mask, Living Dummy. They think about those ones, right? When you hear about Series 2000, you think about, Creature Teacher, Cry of the Cat, and Invasion of the Body Squeezers probably. But I'm talking about specifically all of Goosebumps. This is a mascot book which represents the series as a whole. This is the best Goosebumps book that you can have somebody read as their first book. This is the best Goosebumps book that you can have somebody read when you say the name Goosebumps, because it embodies all the great things about R.L. Stine's writing, as well as all the different characteristics of the Goosebumps franchise that make it so lovable to a lot of fans. You got gross out horror involving Mrs. Marg. You got the fact that she's a great villain. She's very scary looking, very intense. The stuff that she's about to do to kids and possibly has done to kids is horrific to think about. You got a really intense setting with the boarding school, the Caring Academy, dealing with isolation, dealing with no contact to your parents, guardians. You can't even trust the kids because the way that the school is set up, you might face betrayal. You might face fake outs. You might face people that you don't know are actually going to help you. You don't even know if you can actually get a proper friend in this bitch. That is crazy. And despite having all the horror, the intensity, the dark premise, simple enough still that you can basically process it, you then get the comedy. Paul Perez is one of the best Goosebumps characters out there.
Money go where I go, smoking on gelato, foreign car swerving.
But it's not the fact because he gets this amazing characterization that's unrealistic, like what Carly Beth got in the Haunted Mask book, as well as the episode when it got adapted. But this book, he's just a guy who's a scaredy cat. He's always afraid, and then he's a joker. He's always cracking jokes, always trying to be kind of like that cool guy on campus, which makes him very lovable, very charismatic. You can kind of root for him, kind of the people's hero. Without
how long I've been waiting for this. Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
Without it being an unrealistic standard for what R.L. Stine usually writes. Just in this case, probably the best case of what he could do. And you got the absurdity of what happens in this school, the absurdity of some of the gross stuff that Mrs. Marg does, her appearance, the things involving the school, the behavior of these paranoid and desperate kids. It's all in a way dark humor, and it's all goofy enough chill enough for kids while at the same time genuinely being scary and intense. So that's why, to me, this is the best Goosebumps mascot book, because it hits all the nails perfectly. So what's the story actually about if you guys have not heard of this book? This book opens up with Paul Perez, this middle school boy who let us know that he's been a scaredy cat his entire life. You open up with a nightmare sequence that he has as like a 3 or 4-year-old about him being in his bed snuggled up on this dark and stormy night, not like this beautiful day today. And he senses that a monster with green tendrils is reaching up to his bed, wrapping around him, planning him to drag him under and to eat him. And he talks about how he's been scared his entire life. He didn't go into closets and garages because he thought mummies and vampires were in there. He didn't want to go to this summer kind of vacation place by the lake in the woods with his parents because he thought some slimy monster with claws and hooks was going to drag him down in the dark depths of the lake that he's swimming in and chilling in. So he's a scaredy cat kid, and that's why he decided to become a joker. That's why he decided to pursue comedy and try to make people laugh, because he thought it was a nice way for him to kind of suppress his fear, kind of overcome it in a way, become lovable to people, and kind of avoid bullying and becoming shunned. So I think that that's very relatable to a lot of people, especially it's very relatable to me, because I obviously focus on comedy, I obviously focus on jokes, but this piece of fucking pig shit, this piece of fucking sausage mixed with rat doo-doo in the jungle's processing plant.
I'm sitting on my couch. Oh my God, I'm sitting on my couch like, what?
The reason why I'm in the horror genre, the reason why I love horror, is for the simple fact that literally I was a scaredy cat. I was pretty much scared of everything. I was a paranoid kid. A lot of things scared me. And arguably you can say that this is the best representative of a perfect Goosebumps book that people should read, because Paul Perez represents R.L. Stine the best. R.L. Stine constantly talks about how he was a scaredy cat, and how he was a shy kid, which is why a lot of people say that Carly Beth is his most relatable character. Honestly, he would probably say that too, because she's the most popular and iconic one. But Paul Perez is a joker, and as many of you may know, R.L. Stine wrote joke books. He was writing joke, funny books, and then he decided to get into horror out of a rare chance and became successful off of it. So actually, Paul Perez is the most like R.L. Stine. This is the character that represents R.L. Stine the best. Yeah, Carly Beth is a scaredy cat, but she's not a comedian. She might unintentionally make you laugh, but she's not actively going for jokes. Meanwhile, Paul is actively going for jokes. So as he became a comedian, as he became a joker figure, he essentially was causing a lot of mischief and pranks. He ends up bringing a parrot to school and teaches them in class to tell kids to not do their homework. Polly said don't do your homework. Polly said teacher's a jerk. Then obviously the teacher got mad off that, and since Paul's a klutz, the man accidentally folded and he ended up tripping the teacher, and she ended up, I guess, like hurting her knee and like yelling in pain.
My ears burn.
So he ends up getting sent to a boarding school by his parents, because his parents are very successful, they're very serious, they have a high standard on him, and he can't meet that. He's not that good at school. He tries to be, again, a comedian, tries to have more fun, which again is very relatable to a lot of people, relatable to me especially. And he ends up getting sent to this prestigious boarding school, this old school boarding school that promises to basically raise good kids, and has a lot of raving reviews, which is called the Caring Academy. And when he gets to the Caring Academy, it's got a gothic appearance. It's got these like watchtowers, kind of like Terror Tower. It's got a dark storm with lightning striking, very dark and ominous, and looks scary for a place that's called the Caring Academy. It's got very proper staff that are pretty much praising the students and praising how well behaved they are, praising how your kid's gonna end up being this extracurricular genius and stuff, which Paul's not ready for. And then he finally meets the kids, and the kids end up basically telling him, you gotta get out of this place. You gotta leave. This place is dangerous, bro. Your life is on the line. Get out of here. And he's like, whoa, what is all this? And he realizes that one of the staff told him that kids will often play pranks on him or play jokes and tease him because he's the new kid. So he doesn't take it seriously. He doesn't take it to heart. He thinks, all right, these kids are just trying to play me. There's no way that they're actually being serious about all this stuff. And then he meets his teacher. He meets his teacher named Mrs. Marg, and she's flat out a monster. She is freaky looking. She's got these giant watering brown cow eyes. She's got this long cow-like tongue. She's got this enormous build. She's got these huge flabs and like sunken in eyes. She's got these jagged looking teeth. She's walking around barefoot with slimy wet feet that are against the floor tiles. She's got like these black claws instead of fingernails, and she just looks real horrific. She's got this yellowish skin that's described as like chicken out at the market. Poultry skin, bro. That's nasty. And obviously she ends up kind of threatening him, kind of doing these weird ominous sayings, talking about how her class operates on the food chain, which is kind of like the tally system, the minor major kind of thing. I don't know if you guys had that, but essentially, you know, you have to be a great student to Mrs. Marg. You have to be her favorite student. You have to behave, otherwise you're going to get put down at the bottom of the food chain, become a bottom feeder. And it's basically revealed that if you end up at the bottom of the food chain, she will eat you.
Yummers. Guess you wanted to cram in as much fat fuck as possible, huh?
Yes, she is in fact a monster, similar to kind of like a Mr. Mortman type of figure. Her and Mr. Mortman might make a good couple. I don't want to give anybody on R34 or fanfics fuel, so you know what? Cut that out. But yeah, she essentially is going to eat a kid, and you have to make sure that you're not on the bottom of the food chain. Otherwise, you're going to end up becoming her main course meal. And that ends up becoming very apparent, not just off of her appearance, but she calls Paul to come up to the class, and she tells him to put his arm out, and she takes that giant cow tongue and licks his arm and pretty much says, you gotta fatten up, boy, because you're about to be some good old fine dining Michelin star meals. Scrum diddly dumptious. Yeah, so Paul is in a lot of trouble. There's going to be a talent show that's going to be held in this boarding school where you have to perform for Mrs. Marg, and you have to show her that you are an excellent, stellar student, and you can be the best talent act there, because if you end up being the worst talent act, you are number one going to be picked to get eaten. And the story has a lot of interesting stuff in it because of the fact that you have actually betrayal in this story. You have kids that might betray you because they don't want to be eaten. You don't know who you can trust in terms of the staff, the students, the people. Mrs. Marg has a son which keeps poking and prodding at the kids, especially Paul, and he thinks that her son Marv might be setting him up and trying to fatten him up for his mom, because obviously that's her son. There's a lot of tension throughout this story, and that's why it's one of the best tales, because of the fact that it's such an intense setting. You got the isolation factor with the boarding school. You can't reach contacts, you can't reach out to your parents. When you try to escape, there's fences, there's guards up, you're not able to get out of there. Even the students might rat you out and might do stuff to you, potential foreshadowing. They might snitch on you and rat on you because they want to get in Mrs. Marg's good grace. If you try to go to the headmistress, boom, turns out it's Mrs. Marg. She might be running the school. She might be the one who owns this caring academy or founded it. And all the people are under her wing, whether by force or whether by choice. And even when your parents may arrive and you try to convince them that Mrs. Marg is a monster, they won't believe you because of the way she acts, because her appearance is not fully monster-like. It just looks like she might be like a deformed person or whatever. So yeah, this is a really difficult situation. And Paul, again, is a very lovable character. This guy is pretty much R.L. Stine. He went from a scaredy cat, he became a lovable, charismatic joker. So you actually root for him. You want him to come out on top. And you like him as a character, so you don't want anything bad to happen to him. So when you see the stuff that Paul goes through in terms of what happens in the school, what happens with Mrs. Marg, what happens with the other kids, you really start to feel bad for him. And you want him to come out as the hero of the story. Then you got Mrs. Marg as a villain, arguably one of the most iconic villains ever. You got the fact that, you know, she is very terrifying. Her appearance is real scary. Her, you know, giant cow eyes, the giant cow tongue, the sharp teeth, the pudgy feet that she walks around on with claws, the way she licks you, the way she threatens to eat you, the way she commands the school. She's got a serious threat level that will genuinely unnerve you, and a level of power that makes you feel helpless. And a situation where you just feel like you're not able to do anything. And she's got some gross out horror as well, with her drinking some disgusting things. There's a scene where Paul goes back into class and she's eating a cracker with a decapitated mouse head on it. yummers.
Yummers.
You know, that was some real nasty stuff. And yeah, overall, this book is just extremely well paced as well, and there's no twist ending. The climax of the story has a certain twist in it involving a character that's actually really well done. It makes sense. It's not forced on you. And the ending to the story is actually pretty clever. It homages something that was said, I think, in like the first chapter, and kind of ties to Paul's personality and potentially the hidden nature of a character that he's learned to trust. And I'm going to leave it at that. So yeah, that's pretty much why this book is so great. I would give this book a 9.5 out of 10. So yes, this is not my favorite Goosebumps book, just because I don't think the plot hits it all the way there for me to make it my favorite. But you have to understand, I'm talking about what I think should be the best Goosebumps mascot, what I think is the best story to represent. And in my opinion, that is Creature Teacher, man. Creature Teacher is, without a doubt to me, the best representative of Goosebumps, because it hits everything that Goosebumps is supposed to have. And even after you read it, you're not going to have unrealistic expectations regarding the rest of the series. And that is important to any first reader. This is the book that I want you guys to all read as your first book. Oh, hey, by the way, if you like this content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you right there. Yeah, pick your nose. You got a booger hanging out there. Yeah. You in the back, Catherine. Stop talking so much, okay? Stop talking. Your boy is speaking the gospel right now. Okay, it's the most important part. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Hit that post notification bell, because without the help of you guys, this content would not be possible. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to hit those buttons, man. It's important to push those buttons, not to push my buttons. Yes, I'm talking to you. You got shit in your eye, boy. Wipe it out, man. I told you to get ready. This is a hot video, man. But that aside, yeah, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, comment down below your thoughts and opinions about Creature Teacher. What are your thoughts about the book? How do you feel about it? And let me down below, do you agree with my pick for what should be the official mascot books of Goosebumps? Or do you feel otherwise? So yeah, let me know all your thoughts. And again, please support the channel, because without you guys, none of this stuff would be possible. And if you want more content like this, your reception is what drives that. This video was brought to you by Brought Studios, aka Brokevod Studios. It is your #1 favorite horror hero, the Horrorlander, and I am closing out this video. Thank you so much to everybody for watching. Thank you so much for supporting, and thank you so much for making this happen. Let me know how you felt about it. That's all I got. Deuces.